Welcome back to Regal Tells. I don't usually do 2 reading sessions in a day, but I've been feeling so much better lately that I've been able to plow through things, and I think now I already recorded some other all of the Fallout series or whatever and some things, but now that I have my energy back, I'm gonna I'm feeling good and I'm not having that weird dizzy sickness that I was feeling for so long. I've been pumping out stuff. Look, what I'm trying to say is now that I'm feeling this way, I feel like whenever I get sick, my content, because I'm trying to make sure to post regardless and try to get some posts out, my content will start to take a decline. Now we're climbing back up, and once I get these 3 games out of the way, which is Fallout and Wolfenstein, if I get those 2 out of the way, this one I don't this game might be long, so it might be a while before we get through this one. But after we get those 2 out of the way, I'm gonna do a little quick, I'm gonna do a bunch of random games, and it's gonna be really fun. It's gonna be really good, and I'm excited. Anyways, enough of my yapping. Let's continue Regal Tells here. Staying idly by her banner, Nadja squats down beside it. She hadn't a care in the world regarding the enemy front, as her full attention was directed to her daughter, Magina. The feisty cub patted in place and jabbed at the air, while going over what her mother should do in her next fight. Nadja always adored the fiery spirit her daughter possessed. Thanks to her teachings, as well as the members of her tribe chiming in on her lessons, she saw a mighty warrior in the making. She couldn't be more proud of that fact. An adorned smile hugged her face admirably towards her daughter, while she discussed ways to mutilate the Emperor. How about ripping his mane off and shove it down his throat? Going for a lion's vanity. That certainly can leave a scar, but a little too quick and not as savory for our taste, sweetie. When a shirkrin makes an example out of someone, make their very names be the chilling reminders of what happens when you F with the shirkrins. Any legacy made before will be just a mere blood splotch in history. Nadja creaks a hearty grin, beaming with loving approval to her daughter's enthusiasm towards her culture. Onlookers listen in to the conversation, hollered out chants and laughter to the little one's creed. Again, if and when we fight, what else could Mommy do to the big bad highborn's ass? Magina scratches her chin in thought. Get him in an ankle lock. Twist it until it turns backwards, then go back for some wild jabs while he hobbles out in front of his men. Nadja straightens up with a purr and an enticing brow raised at the idea. Now we're getting somewhere. Making a mockery out of him will leave a very lasting impression on his people. Keep going. What else, sweetie? Right, rip his tail off, shove it down his throat. Then carve your claws into his gut and fish out the tail. Oh, and once you do, tie each end together like a living meat bag. Nadja witnessed in her daughter's eyes how enthralled she letting her imagination run wild. Out of the entire kingdom surrounding them, brutality was their signature export outside of their homeland, if not the only thing they were any good at to the outside world. Her eyes flash with an intrigue to her daughter's idea and banters along. Ooh, now that's thinking like a shirkerin, sweetie. Yeah, and we could even suspend them to trees or something as our warning effigies. Decorating the trees with a strung-up corpse? I feel like that could be our new signature in this war, don't you agree, men? Everyone within the proxy howled with approving laughter and yells to the idea. Magina bites her lip with a toothy smile. She beamed and giggled with glee as everyone praised her idea. Nadja pulls her and cups her paw against her daughter's face, ruffling up her shaggy hair. Nadja laps her cheek with a lick and chuckles. No words were needed between them as she hugged Magina dearly to her loving embrace. This war promised to give them the world, but stripped them of the things they valued most. Now that all remained was the time they could share with one another. Even the looming threat of the Valir Empire at their back, holding Magina in her arms, mattered the most to her right now. Ba-woom. The sounding of a war horn upheaved the tender moment between the mother and daughter. Nadja glances over her shoulder and witnesses flocks of birds scattering from the tree line. The ground trembled beneath her talons, sensing a mighty force was on the move and in full force. Naja takes a deep breath. This was her moment. She turns her gaze back on Magina, now biting her upper lip nervously, but she held her composure while staring at her mother. Naja brims out a cynical smile. Mommy needs to go now, sweetie. Duty calls. Magina darts into her mother's arms and hugs her neck tightly, burying her teeny maw against her mother's ear. She growls, I love you, Mom. Finish work quickly, please. Naja pauses for a moment before she nuzzles Magina into her loving embrace, only to be pushed away by Magina. The cub clasps her teeny paw over her mother's massive muzzle and glares into her eyes. Rip his cock off, Mom. Okay. I wasn't expecting that. Okay. Okay, she is just horrifying. She's vicious. Alright. Naja chuckles with a toothy grin, eyes gleaming with pure approval of her daughter's creativity. She crafts a hold of Magina's head in her palm and kisses her forehead. I'll see what I can muster, sweetie. Now go find yourself a good view while Mommy negotiates. Go! Naja lightly nudges Magina to the warband. She nods and skips into the crowd hastily until only a wall of leather and thick muscular fur was all that could be seen. She glances over her band of beasts. Outside of Shurkarin, they'd be seen as simple foot soldiers. But to her, they were the finest warriors foraged from the wastelands. They all looked on to her with steely resolve and readiness to die for their home. The thunderous war horn sounded once more, demanding all attention towards it, as it got louder and louder with every blow. Naja, with her eyes still set on her men, held her head up high and etched out a demented grin across her maw. There was never a time to show fear nor concern. If she must die for her people, she'll do it with a bone-chilling smile to her foes. Remember the plan, everyone. The Emperor is mine. She cackled out a mischievous laugh. Her tantalizing voice influenced everyone to do the same in tow to her bravado. Her attention finally returns to the forest, where a wall of metal slowly marched out from the bush. A massive formation of knights on horseback trotted out in dense rows. The green fields overseeing the forest were quickly draped by legions of shining armor knights. It only took a fraction of the Emperor's forces to take up the entire clearing. The war drums echoed throughout their ranks, harmonizing to their thunderous march to perfection. What was supposed to be an act of showing their might of the Empire through numbers alone, Naja nor anyone else seemed fazed. As long as everyone had hope in their leader, they had never faltered a fear. A second orchestra of horns boomed forth from the forest. All soldiers combined opened a gap to their formation and made way for the second legion of knights. These knights were more decorated than the rest. These were the elite knights to the Emperor. In the center of it all was the Emperor himself. He and his commanding officers strode to the front of their dazzling formation. With a simple flick of his wrist, the Emperor silenced the drums, and in its stead a collective roar tore across the Imperial Legion. Every man and woman of numberless races cried out in glorious chant in the name of their Emperor. The Emperor and his men strolled out more to the open field in shouting distance to Naja and her tribe. Salir turns his attention back to his adoring army, ready to do battle for him at a moment's notice. He holds a finger to his lips as if shushing the crowd. He did so, in fact. Everyone silenced themselves at the whim of the Emperor's finger. A sly smirk tugged at his lips at the sight of his diligent army. Salir brings his attention back to the opposing side, catching a glimpse of the banner Naja had planted. To whom do I have the pleasure of speaking with? From the look of your colors, you're the infamous Shurkarin clan, no? Naja cackled and shouts out to the clansmen. Hear that, boys? The mighty Emperor called us infamous. The clansmen hooted and hollered at the compliment. Knowing how other highborns greet one another, Naja mockingly bowed and gestured around while addressing the Emperor. Why yes, you guessed it. You also have the honor of meeting its Grand Chief Naja. Just Naja? Naja nods, speaking with pride. Surnames hold no meaning to us. To carry a name built off the legacy of others is pointless. Just because you come from a name couldn't instantly grant the respect placed into it. You might as well be a leech living off the reputation that is not your own. You make a name of your own, or none at all. The Emperor nods thoughtfully to Naja's words, creaking a bemused smile. Naja smiles with equal amusement. But I must say, you're making a name for yourself pretty well. And here I thought you'd have pussyfooted your way out like all the other highborns. But here you are. And here I am. So, what business do you want of me? You wish to negotiate, did you not? Naja's expression darkened into a psychotic grin. Oh, I've got a deal all right. One that aims to end this war. Slayer arches a brow at the comment. A flicker of hope lit up in his eyes, save for a bit of skepticism hidden behind it. Oh, do you now? Well, I'm all ears, my dear. Well, it's simple, really. I'm going to take your head. A commotion erupts from the Imperial formation with soldiers voicing their outcries at Naja. The Emperor holds his palm up to silence them. Hope leaves his eyes with a bitter grimace flooding into his wake. I challenge you to a winner-takes-all, hand-to-hand combat. Give this war a satisfying end. Fight not with others in your stead, nor with tricks, but with honor and your own blood. The taunting roars of the Sharkarans leave the Emperor unfazed. His stern golden eyes stare off at the deranged lioness before him. It's been known the Sharkarans are an ambitious clan. I would have never expected it to be this ambitious, though. What makes you think I'd ever accept such a ludicrous arrangement in the first place? We could kill you now and your names would be left on the dirt you stand on. The Sharkarans fell silent as Naja stood closer to the Emperor. She looks down on Salir with her head held high. A number of things, really. Seeing you here and now certainly puts my theories to the test. She hears tells of the Emperor's feats throughout the war, many ranging to how he single-handedly dismantled an army stronghold, or how he was poisoned 16 times but never faltered. This was the propaganda in her mind's eye. If she could expose him for these fabricated wives' tales, it'd make a victory over him all the more sweeter. A man who boasts himself with such legends truly must have an ego to match. She aimed to test. For instance, the fact you're here and not behind some walls says something about you. The fact you're knee-deep into enemy lines shows that you're a man of action and hunts for resolve. The Emperor was taken back by the lioness's words, an interesting assessment she made of him, and all coming from a barbarian of all people. He smirks with intrigue and listens in. She paces and begins roaring out her words. But noble as you are, what of us? What if the grunts of this war are our war cries mere chatter to your glamorous war ballads? Is our course in life not as worthy of remembrance as your privileged shit-stains? She halts in her pacing and leers her eye dead set on the Emperor, pointing a vigorous finger his way. This war has taken everything from us. Our dignity, our honor, our friends, and our families. Everything. And for what? In the name of a half-witted ruler? Why waste a life on such an individual? Because they have special blood? Because of a stupid name they hold? What riches course through your veins that outweighs the rivers of blood shed in kind's name? Salir starts brushing his mane in thought to her words. We're sick of it. We're sick of all this bull. We're finished seeing this world blindly follow false leaders. Here, we follow the strongest, most noblest of warriors. Naja clutches her fist, and that is why I want your head. The biggest, most infamous highborn this war has ever seen. Ripping your head off can end this war in an instant. She slowly starts to pace outward to him, her growling more audible to hear past the roaring winds. Not only would this war end, but my people would cease to be used by cowardice by highborns like you. Used as fodder, while your kind prance about in your undeserved glory. The Shurkerin clan roars and cheers to their leader's decree. You'd gamble your clan away in the hopes I agree to this? I have thousands of men ready to fight in my name, the Valar name. Why should I risk it all for your petty deal? Otherwise, you'll prove my point, that you're just as cowardly as the rest of the Highborns. You won't fight your own battles, so you'll have someone else do it for you. Go ahead and prove me right. I'll get your head one way or another. Go ahead and call us savages, mindless brutes, simple pawns. I've always despised you Highborns. All I have ever seen done by your kind is leech off of us. Why not send in a champion while you're at it, Send in as many as you'd like. It won't matter. I'll kill them all, but before I do, I'll make sure they stare you in the eyes while I rip their heads off. I'll show them their last moments in life were spent fighting for a coward. The Emperor's face became hard as stone and eyes cold as ice to the outlandish lioness. Every few in life dared to test his patience, let alone make a spectacle out of it. It was rather a rare treat for him, to say the least. He makes no effort to halt her while she banters on. If I can't burn the likes of your kind from this world, then I'll just settle for the one before me. Nadja now brimming with delight at the bitterly distraught Emperor. She coaxes on by tantalizing him with promising silver lining to her deal. But if you're too cowardly to accept such a noble challenge, then how about this for incentive? Beat me, and my clan will go home. We'll even give you directions as to where our allies are. You don't have to worry about fighting us one bit for the rest of the war. That is, if you can actually beat me in a fight. The clansmen begin an uproar, cheering on their charismatic chieftain. Nadja murmurs to herself while her clan cheers drown her out. Not that I'll ever let that happen. Once this war ends, Shurkerins will cease to be the grunts of the war, but the conquerors. General Pax trails beside Salir's horse and begins whispering to the Emperor. Just say the word, my lord. They are the only enemy units we have scouted for miles. We'll crush them in minutes. The Emperor peers over the cheering clansmen before turning to see his own men and women all ready to die for him. He gives Nadja a stern glare. If you were to take my head in single combat, what fate do you have in store for my men? Sire. Nadja bellows out a purr in delight. They'll go home to their families unharmed. You have me at my word. Salir gives a solemn nod. As will your men if I am to win. Pax grabs Salir by the arm. Sir, what are you doing? If you're worried about the casualties, we won't suffer as bad as they will. The Emperor glares at Pax with a petrifying, cold gaze. Won't suffer, you say? Tell me, General, how often do you walk the battlefields after a victory? To walk amongst the dead and just smell it all in. The General is at a loss for words. I have. Every single one of them. It always smells the same. Rot, piss, and fear. He could feel the warm flow of blood dripping from his paws now, with the haunting specters of battle old resurrect in his mind, the images of impaled horses, decapitated heads, carcasses crushed to near obliteration, rooted deeply into his mind. If I am to build the Valir name, it won't be off my men's corpses, but by the strong arm I raise in their defense. The Emperor dismounts his horse, a move that leaves every Imperial troop stunned. He undoes his cape and unsleeves his claymore sword. I accept your challenge. Draw your blade so we can end this quickly. Nadja shoots the Emperor a taunting grin. Who said anything about a sword fight? I said fight me hand to hand. No room for swords in this fight. Nadja bares her claws at him as if she's readied herself to snatch victory out of the air. She cackles at his expense. Not too late to back out with your tail between your legs, your highness. Salir growls before slamming his sword into the ground and leaves his blade firmly implanted beneath the soil. He begins to undo the heavy parts of his armor begrudgingly. General Pax rushes over to his horse, baffled and enraged. My lord, if this is just a pride thing, I must say it's not worth it. You can't possibly... Salir shoots the general a glare and growls. What? You don't think I can best her? Pax shoots his eyes back and forth between him and Nadja, noting her massive 8.5 size in contrast to Salir's 6'3" figure. Calculating it all, he fumbles for words and sighs. Don't go breaking every bone in your body this time around. We just restocked our supply of bandages. Salir chuckles. No promises. Salir packs away all of his loose gear, back on his horse, while Pax grabs a hold of its reins. The Emperor holds for the general's attention and lifts a decorative locket. Pax's eyes gawk in disbelief. My lord, you can't possibly. I will not have it in my crutch. He shoves the locket into Pax's hands. If I am to win this war, it will be as a beacon of light and not a monster. Pax's feathers ruffle up as he lets out a long-winded sigh. Pocketing the locket, he leads the horse away while Salir marches forward. Pax leads their horses away as the Emperor strolled forward. Nadja stood idly as Salir approached her in the middle of the clearing, her head held high. A sly smirk snaked its way across her maw. She reached out to offer a handshake to the Emperor. And that right there is going to be the end of this episode. I hope you guys have been enjoying the story so far. I'm really getting into this. I think this is the battle at the beginning of the story that was talked about. I could be wrong. Maybe it's a twist. Maybe she just kills him and it's a whole nother person that she has all of that part of the story that they were talking about. But I have a feeling no one dies here. That is my guess from what it said at the beginning of the story. But anyways, I'm out of time. I'm feeling my nose is all itchy or something. It's like when I'm allergic to my cat, I get itchy like that. And I haven't felt that in a while and it's hitting. And so like I was going crazy while reading this. So I just got to end it for today. I can't do no more today because I'm all messed up. But anyways, I'm absolutely enjoying this. I hope you guys are enjoying this as well. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys in the next one. Adios, amigos.